Okay, so I've got an update on the application here. Going to try to get this video done as quickly as I can here. So let's start out here. Just a quick overview. This is my profile builder for prompts. So if you're in ChatGPT 4.0, you know how confusing it can be if you are going back to try to find a prompt that you previously had. And it would be nice to be able to edit those and keep track of them. So I've written this application which uses JSON. So instead of actually just typing in a text-based prompt, it's kind of like a menu system, and you've got all these different options that you can choose from, and you can create your own. So I've got all of these categories which are working really well for creating images, but you can add your own categories if you want to. And then within each one of these boxes, you've got tons of different options, and you can add to those as well. So I've been having so much fun writing this application and coming up with different profiles. I did a prompt lab series 1. So I just posted the first video yesterday, and I'll be doing more of those. But let me just show you. One of the features that I created is called chaos, and chaos just kind of rolls the dice on all of the different images. All the different settings that you've got. So it'll take all of the settings from inside the application, and it'll just mix them up and come up with something crazy. So I've got a couple regular profiles in here, but I also have a lot of these chaos profiles, and you can see I've been working on some different aesthetics. This kind of looks like Andy Warhol. This one was just chaos, and so the application came up with this. I fed it to ChatGPT, and this is what it came up with. This one is just a nice portrait for coming up with a beautiful soft vignette, soft focus aesthetic. We've got sketch modes. We've got holographic modes with randomized things. We got a little bunny down here in the lower left-hand corner, an Arctic fox. We've got me apparently as a hologram with my eyes censored out. This one, I'm not even going to begin to try to describe. You can pause that if you want to and try to take that in. Again, just random chaos. This is another chaos. We've got a robot dog companion unit, and it's a choose your own adventure. Another weird one, and yet another. I don't think it usually comes up with regular images when I've got it in chaos mode, but I love this one. This is kind of a weird blend of different things. I've been working on getting some pop art profiles in, and so this one is just really cool. And then we've got, this is the last one I wanted to show you, then we'll jump into the application. This is also based off of pop art, and this is Jabba the Hutt chilling on a Friday night, playing some video games and having some pizza. Sounds like a pretty good Friday night to me. All right, so back to the application here. What have I done? Well, obviously I have the chaos mode. So instead of just clicking random to create a chaos mode, and I'm going to turn off my camera now so you can see the full screen. But what I have now is, in addition to chaos, which just, if I click on it, it generates a random profile. It just takes and mixes everything up. I can also go into the menu, and I've got chaos profile. Notice I have a keyboard shortcut because I am a keyboard shortcut fanatic. And if I press F9 or do that, then it loads up a random profile, and it just like, not even a random profile, it just comes up with just random stuff out of each and every one of these. So there's probably like millions of combinations, because you got clothing options, you've got eyewear options, shoe types, and then you've got substrates, so you can determine the type of fabric, lighting effects as well. You can go into the lighting temperatures, and it's got all the lighting stuff in here too. So that is the chaos mode. And then I have load random, and load random is nice because if you press F5 on the keyboard or click load random on the button on the left, or go to profile load random, it just goes into your existing profiles and it pulls up one of those. So this is great if you just kind of want to refresh and take a look at profiles that you've created previously. You just press F5, and then the beautiful thing about this is you can go in here and you can copy the JSON and you can feed that over to ChatGPT, and it'll create the image there. So let me just do this one here. I'll get this going in the background, and I got to open up my browser here, and I'll just feed this in to ChatGPT 4.0, and we'll let it work, and I'll continue to create some additional images here. So very, very cool interface. It's been changed. If you notice here, I've got 2 columns, and I figured, you know, if you've got a smaller monitor, you may want to have a single column, which is how I had it set up before, but you can also do 2 column layout, and this resizes, you know, as you go in and drag. It was hard figuring out how to get that to work, but I got it to work. So this resizes, and then you also have options. So now you can go into settings and preferences, a standard keyboard shortcut of Control and comma, and check this out now. I may be putting in more preferences in here, but now I've got a house for all of my options. And if I want to, I can choose 1 column, and I can apply that and click OK. And now I've got actually a single column instead of 2 columns. But if I want to, I can just press keyboard shortcuts. I can press Control on the keyboard and 1, and that gives me a single column, or Control on the keyboard and 2, and that gives me dual columns. And so that's a nice setting. I'm going to do Control and comma on the keyboard. Notice that I've got color themes now. I've added a couple. So instead of dark and darker now, I've got light, and I'll just click OK on that. And notice there that I've got white interface in the background, pretty bright. If you're working on your laptop at night, it might wake up your partner next to you in bed. That is like super, super bright. But if I want to, I can go into dark, and I'll go ahead and apply that. And so now I've got gray. That's nice. I like that. But usually I work in, darkest mode. And I like this darkest mode here. But then I also went darker than darkest, and I figured why not go all the way down to black. And so if you want to, you can go into this black mode here, and now you've got really stark contrast on the screen. The other thing that I did is, let me go back here to my darkest mode and apply that, is on the interface. Notice you've got these rounded edges. I like this. I designed that, came up with a style sheet. I like all of these rounded edges here. You go into the menus at the top, they're rounded. You click on any one of the sub dialogues, got rounded. But I know some people like right angles, and so I went in. These are aesthetic changes that I've made. And you've got the sleek mode, which is rounded edges, or you can go to standard. And if you go to standard, then it gives you right angles on everything. So notice now all of my pull down menus are boxes, all of my menus are boxes as well. So basically I just have another style sheet that I created on the back end, and it switches between those. And I suppose I could add additional style sheets if I wanted to, but I'm happy with these 2 different modes here. So like that. You may have noticed that there's an additional option in here called History. And if I go to History now, I have the ability to choose Max Recently Used Items. Yes, somebody had recommended Favorites, but now I've got Recently Used Items. Let me cancel this, and I'll show you if I go into Profile, Load Profile. Now I've got all of my different folders down here, and all of the folders contain different profiles. But if I go up here, in addition to favorites, which I had added last week, I now have recently used, and it keeps track of all of the different profiles that I've used recently. And you can change the number of entries in there. If you do want to clear that, you can go into history and choose clear. It asks you, are you sure you want to do it? Can't be undone. I don't want to clear mine, so I'm going to click no. But yeah, added some additional functionality there. So I like that a lot. What else have I done here? I have the ability now to go in, and if I want to manage my profiles, I can go into manage profiles. I built that functionality before, but notice that I've got some additional options. So I have the ability to move profiles, not just by clicking and dragging. Like if I go in here to Claymation, let's say I wanted to well, let's say, okay, like I notice I got a typo here. Let's do this first. So now if I want to, Claymation, Arnold, and Danani, it was actually Danny DeVito. What I can do is I can do rename. And so now I can rename the profiles in here, but I can also, if I want to, choose, and I can press F2 on the keyboard if I want to rename. So I've got that keyboard shortcut set up so we can do renaming. And then if I wanted to, instead of, like if I wanted to do Claymation, now it's corporate executives, I had this before where I could click and drag to move it over to corporate, but if I want to, I can just select and choose the button. So added that button, which allows me to choose which folder I want to store it. So a lot of good organizational in here. Organizational capabilities in the application now, and then there's keyboard shortcuts associated with the favorites, which I had before. So I'll just mark that as a favorite. I can either click the button like that, or I can press Alt F, which I did before. But now if I get out of this box, I can also change. Like I've been working in this origami matrix profile. If I want to, I can toggle my favorite by going to the menu bar. Notice that there's no longer a star in the upper left-hand corner, but if I choose, I didn't want to do that. I want to go to toggle favorite. I've got the star there, but I can also just press Alt F. So Alt F is a global shortcut now instead of just in the manage profiles. So that's pretty cool. And then I have text prompt capabilities. So if I want to, let me just go in here and let's see, I've got like a grime lurker I created, kind of a spooky. I'm doing some spooky profiles as well. So if I want to, I can now go into text prompt, and I can go into edit view plain text prompt. The reason I did this is as I'm working on the Prompt Lab series, I found myself storing these smaller versions of these prompts in text files, and I thought that's just ridiculous. Why don't I actually build this into the application? So in addition to having all of the JSON data, which is stored in the profile, we now have the ability to store this text right here, and I have plain text. This is also really cool if I'm working in Midjourney. You know how you have like the C-ref and you can do character references, or S-ref for style references. You could actually come up with a version which is friendly for Midjourney and store that in here. And so really nice to do that. And I've got import capabilities, so you can import from a text file, paste from clipboard. Of course, the standard keyboard shortcuts work, or I could clear text if I want to. I'm not going to do that. I'll just go ahead and click cancel. But if I made changes, then I would save that, and it automatically then gets saved into the profile. So that's very cool. And then I also have the ability to copy the plain text that just goes into the clipboard, and I have a keyboard shortcut of Control-Shift-T that copies it into the clipboard. Another thing I did is, this is kind of a hidden thing, but if I press F11 on the keyboard, it takes the current profile name and just puts it into the clipboard. So I've got my name, Grime Lurker. If I go into like Notepad here and I just do a paste, I can see that I've got that in there. But if I do a Shift F11, then if I do that, it puts not only the name of the profile, but the folder as well. It may not seem like a big thing, but man, when I'm flying back and forth creating different images, it's really nice to be able to do those references and to have that in the clipboard for when I'm changing file names on things. It just allows me to keep track of things really, really well. Of course, I've had a lot of bug fixes that I've been working on. The next features that I'm going to be adding, hopefully next week, are going to be the ability to have thumbnails. So I hope I can figure that out, is to get graphical thumbnails into the interface so you can kind of just see when you click on a new profile, you can see what you've got. That'll also be in the manage profiles. So I plan to have it when you go in and you click on things, if you've added a thumbnail for it, then it'll actually show up somewhere here in the interface. So hope I can figure that out. I've been really busy this week on everything else though. I've done some bug fixes to fix some things underneath the hood in terms of the management of the sub dialog boxes. I had some errors that I was able to clean up, and gosh, let me just look at the rest of the menu here. The meme, I did fix that. So I've got the meme where you can set top text, so you can do standard types of memes. And this is my top text here. And then Control B for shortcut. This is my bottom text. And then I can do meme and then include meme instructions in the preamble. And so now I can toggle that on and off. And I have a keyboard shortcut of Control and Alt and P. So that is a nice addition there. And that's if I wanted to create memes over in ChatGPT, because ChatGPT 4.0 is really, really good at creating memes. Let's see, as far as categories, sub-dialog groups, reorder categories, I think I had that functionality built in before, so nothing new there. Still have the ability to import JSON files. That's a key thing. You can go back and watch one of the previous videos if you want to see all the steps on how to import profiles and do the conversion. But I will say that as I've been working on the Prompt Lab series, and I'm going to do that because as I'm building out the profiles, I want to share out the JSON files, because I know a lot of you had asked for the JSON files. You can just go to brainyface.com, and for every one of the Prompt Lab series videos, I'm going to have JSON files and regular text prompts. That's why I built in this text prompt capability in here. So I also have been chatting with a couple of you kind of off to the side and appreciate the feedback. And I had somebody who had actually said that they wanted to give me a link to their Sora images, so I'll be featuring them coming up in a video pretty soon. And if you have images that you've created and you wanted to share those out, I can put them in and highlight them in the Prompt Lab series. But then what I can also do is I can kind of convert that into a profile, and I've got this, if I go into manage profiles, I've got Brainyface community, the BFP for Brainyface project community creations, and we'll go ahead and add all these. So once I get to distribution mode on this application, we'll also have all of those profiles that community members have shared. So if you've done some artwork and you wanted to share that, especially if it's genre specific, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm very interested if you have different categories, like I'm going to do illustrated stories, I'm going to do spooky, I'm going to do crafts, I'm going to do pop art. I've got a lot of cinematic styles. I'm going to be sharing like 10 different prompts every week within a specific genre, and this is a great way for me to be able to keep track of all of them in there. So anyway, I'm sure I probably missed a couple of other things here, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. I hope you have a great weekend, and please like and share, comment, subscribe, do all the wonderful YouTube things. I do appreciate it, and I'm having a lot of fun working on this app and making these videos, so I hope that shows, and I will see you soon with another video. Take care. Bye.